Today, we're going to talk about when a client threatens to ruin your reputation. This is every website designer's absolute nightmare. And generally, we always want our work to go well. We always want to feel good about the work that we're doing, and we always want our clients to feel very good about the work. But sometimes that just doesn't happen. It could be that your processes aren't quite tight enough, or that you're little inexperienced for the type of design that the client requires, or something like that. But in most cases, it is always the client and the situation that they're in that leads that kind of bad feeling that you can get with the relationship, the design, just the way things are going. And every developer has a story who can tell you about this as well, where, everything's been absolutely fine and then the relationship has soured and they don't really know why. I have my own stories where I can say, I've stuck to my processes, I've stuck to what I've said I've done, everything's going well. And then slowly kind of emails from the client become more abrupt, or there's just a general air of dissatisfaction around them. And sometimes we can't get those things back on track. Other times we can. And if you've listened to the podcast for a while, you'll know that I've done other episodes about how to handle tricky clients like this. But today I wanted to share a story with you about the client who threatened to ruin my reputation. And I hope for you that it is a story of hope, a story of resilience, and a story that helps you not end up in a similar situation that I did. This happened a year ago this week, so it's very appropriately timed. I had a client come to me for a website rebuild, and they explained their reasons why they wanted a rebuild particularly, and we walked through it, and I thought, I don't think I'm a good fit for them, and I don't really want the work, but they had also been recommended by someone I know very well, someone I respect, and I didn't want to just turn them flat away, which, in hindsight, is what I should have done. But I didn't, and instead I quoted what many people call go-away pricing, or the more upfront of us would call arsehole tax, and thought, well, if they pay this, then I will build it. And just to state here as well, it was quite a big website project, so I could justify the price. So everything started well, but I had a little bit red flags because it sounded as though this company were kind of in trouble financially. I didn't worry about their ability to pay for the website, but sometimes when that happens, you have people who absolutely just hinge everything on the website. And that can sometimes be where that relationship I was talking about can turn sour because they've just got so much riding on it and so much riding on you. And with websites, often the client's kind of out of control of it. It's up to the designer to bring the design and everything to the forefront as well. So it can leave the clients feeling a little bit vulnerable. And so I had gone ahead with this website project. I was building it alongside one of my designers who worked for me as well. Everything was well. And then this client just repeatedly asked for us to go to meetings. And that's not really part of the process. And it's not really helpful. And every meeting, they didn't really say anything in the meeting, anything that had a reason for us to be there or for leading the design or anything like that. But each time they kept saying, we want to include more and more and more and more people in the meeting. And again, I think it was from where they were under so much pressure that they were just trying to get everyone's opinion. But all it meant was that we were going into meetings about a meeting about a meeting about a meeting. It was a waste of everybody's time. And my terms of service are very, very clear about how many meetings you get with the website project as well. Got to the point that we reached a little bit of a stalemate because they wouldn't approve the further stages of the design without having a meeting with 9 other people on there, and we just weren't getting anywhere. So in the end, we agreed that we wouldn't continue the project together. And there are a couple of reasons for this. One is that the clients had repeatedly asked us and acknowledged that they were asking us to work outside the terms of service. And the other was we just couldn't agree on the design, and they kept adding different layers into it. So we decided that we were all going to part ways. The client then came to me and said, we acknowledge that we've paid a non-refundable deposit, and we also acknowledge that you've essentially used that deposit to get us to this stage, but we'd like our money back now because we're not going ahead. So I pulled out terms of service and said, you're right in acknowledging that this is non-refundable and I can't refund it. And that's when the client started to get nasty. And he told me that if I wasn't to refund his deposit, he would ruin my reputation and he would make sure that I would not work in a website capacity in the space that he worked in, which is the HR space. It's always the HR guys, people. Every client is a nightmare I've had, HR. So I said, I'm sorry you feel that way and best of luck for the future. And then I sat and waited and nothing really happened. And then one day, a few weeks later, I received notification on Google of a 1-star review. This is often people's absolute fear, is that they're going to get something like a 1-star review that's really going to damage their reputation. So the first thing I would say is do not be afraid, because often 1-star reviews are so preposterous that they just don't really count to other people's experience, especially this 1-star review was nestling amongst, 40 5-star reviews that I had as well. So as I say, it didn't feel like a big deal. And if you want to kind of verify this as well, go onto Amazon and look at any product on Amazon and anyone that has quite a lot of reviews, and look at the 5-star reviews and what they say and the 4-star reviews and what they say. And then look at the 1-star reviews, and they will usually say things like, the product didn't turn up. The product was damaged. I tried to return the product and I didn't hear back from the seller. Usually the 1-star review is not generally to do with what the product was and how well it worked. It's usually to do around the service or whatever else. So there's not a huge amount of credibility with these things. The client had written on Google that we wouldn't go to any further meetings with them. They had to cancel the project. And I responded and said, yeah, I'm sorry that it hasn't worked out. The delays had come from their end, that we tried to resolve all of this amicably. Sorry it hadn't, and good luck with your next project. Then I did something which could be seen as either really brave or really stupid. And I'm going to put it out there, I'm going to say brave. Are you a website designer looking to have a great career? Get more clients? Have strong processes? And so much more. Well, I've got you. Head over to websitesmadesimple.co.uk/email and I'll send you resources directly to your inbox every week to ensure that you have the career that you have always dreamed of. That's websitesmadesimple.co.uk/email, and I'll see you there. Then I did something which could be seen as either really brave or really stupid. And I'm going to put it out there, I'm going to say brave, especially as someone who has spent a long time building my reputation. So we're going with brave, people. And I put the 1-star review on LinkedIn. And LinkedIn is where the majority of my community is. I screenshotted it. And then I layered it in Canva on a background of my brand colours. And then I put 5 gold stars and filled one of them in. And then I put this post on LinkedIn and I said, guys, I got my first 1-star review. Here, everyone have a look at it. And boy, did this post blow up. So people clicked on and saw it. And they could also, had also put what I had put there as my response. And in the, hey guys, I've got this 1-star review, I also explained what had happened, that the client had repeatedly pushed the boundaries and I had really held them, and clearly they hadn't liked it. But what happened next, I was really surprised by. And that is that people went onto my Google profile and they saw the review and they saw who had left it. And then they clicked into that person's review. And this was not just one person, this was a group of people. And they were like, wow, this guy only leaves 1-star reviews for people. This doesn't feel massively credible. And then they clicked in more to who this guy was. And they were like, wow, this guy works in the HR space. And he has essentially, kind of fired your company because you couldn't repeatedly make these meetings after you and your colleague had explained your working parents and you couldn't make like 5:30 p.m. meetings at the end of the working day. Like, this is pretty special. And then people who had worked with me and who hadn't up to that point left a review went on Google and they left me 5-star reviews and said, we worked with Holly and she was amazing. So this guy, in trying to ruin my reputation, actually ruined his own and strengthened mine. And in preparation for this episode, I went onto the page and I was talking about this. I did a webinar with Neil Valio, the Podmaster, the other day, and we were talking about this. And if you weren't there for the webinar and you would like to watch it, it's all about storytelling within your business, drop me a line at hello@websitesmadesimple.co.uk and I will send you the link to the webinar as well. So we were talking about it then. I thought, Neil said, do an episode about this. I went to check the reviews and I saw that this guy has gone in and edited his review. So there's gone back to the top of my Google list because it says it's the newest review, even though you can see that my response to him was like 50 weeks ago. And all he's done in this edit of the review is he's just repeated a line and put a spelling mistake in there as well. I really wanted to assure you that this happens to the best of us. You can't win them all. What I would say is use it absolutely as an opportunity that if a client comes into you with red flags, do not think, I have the experience to deal with this, as I thought. Do not think, well, I'll charge them a whacking amount of money and then at least I'm compensated fairly for this. You will lose more time, more sleep, more energy trying to, get it back on track, trying to be amicable, and then, referring back to the clauses in your terms of service and all that sort of thing. And if you just scrapped these people with their bad energy and all that sort of stuff in the first place, let that be your lesson. If you're a website developer or you were a website designer and you're really, really looking to take your career to the next level, I have a program that I am launching. It's called the Phoenix Program because it's all about transformation. And if you feel that you've got the skill set there and you've got the tools for building websites, but you really, really want to, double, triple your income, I'm not going to make a huge claim here, but I do know generally how much website designers earn when they're not working in any form of mentorship or coaching capacity. So if you really want to make a difference to your income, if you want to have tons of support, nail your messaging, not end up with the 1-star reviews if you can help it, then come and check out my Phoenix program. It could be absolutely the right thing for you. So head over to websitesmadesimple.co.uk. You'll see the Phoenix program there. Put it right in the middle there under the logo so you can see it.